as you can see, I'm sitting down on this occasion. And that is because we are going to do a listening session today. So we're now on day 11 of the Idea Explosion Challenge, which means the splurging is done, but we still splurge every day, but the splurging for the challenge is done. And what we are now doing is direct listening. So that's a specific kind of listening, which I'll show you on day 11, where essentially what you do is you kind of, which is a bit of an unusual thing to ask you to do, which is listen without judgment, okay? Which is a strange thing to do, given that what we're supposed to be doing is judging the music that we've made. But we don't actually listen while judging for various different reasons. We kind of judge it afterwards. So anyone who's on at the moment, feel free to say hi and ask questions or anything like that. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start listening to some of my splurges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this for the first time. Ooh, look at that. And change my camera to... hello, Eric. Change my camera to... And Sasha, hello. Good to see you. Oh, that's weird. What's going on there? I now have two. Oh, there we go. Okay, so... And what I'm going to do... So I'm actually... Because these... Wait a minute. There we are. Because I've got... Hello, Maris. Because I've got a number of splurges, I've got 19 splurges that I've got to listen to. Instead of listening in Trello, which is the software I use to kind of to track what's going on in my automatic music machine, I've put all of these in iTunes. And then any that I might want to take forward in the future, I'm going to put a little heart on. Okay? So I'm not going to listen to all of these right now because it would probably be quite dull for you, but I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. Okay? So this is the one I did on the 7th of April. So this was the first day of the Idea Explosion Challenge, and hopefully I've set it up so this will work. Hello, Sarah. Okay, so, hello audio diggers. What's your name, Audio Diggers? Rude. There we go. No, you've already written it. Rude. Hello. So, there we go. There's the first one, and I'm going to put a bookmark on that. So, and let me tell you the reason I'm putting a bookmark on that. Right. So there were lots of mistakes in there. It was all over the place. The piano wasn't fitting with the string on the top. So there's all kinds of things. But what I'm really listening for are, how would I describe it? What I'm listening for are opportunities or things that are kind of either already exciting me, or, which is one type, yeah, or things which are making me have another idea which I'm excited about. And they're two different things. Okay. Now, because I've done a heck of a lot of splurging over the last 18 months since I came back to making music, you can see all of the splurge. This is my sketchbook. So here are all of the splurges that I've done in the last 18 months. Yeah, which I mean, it's just hundreds and hundreds. Yeah. My kind of bar for what I am bookmarking is quite high in various different ways. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'm only bookmarking the things which I splurged out and that came out good. Yeah. So I would say that this one didn't come out good, but there was something about the way it went from the string to into the kind of piano that made me go, oh, hang on a minute. Right, there was a kind of arrival sort of moment, and I would be interested at some point in the future to kind of explore that kind of area. So let's listen to another one. And as I said, I won't listen to all of them because it's 55 minutes, but I just want to give you an idea of how I'm listening. So when I'm listening, I'm noticing thoughts coming into my head. I'm starting to think about things that I could do, but I'm letting them go past, and I'm refocusing on the music and kind of my whole experience. Yeah. So when the thoughts come in, I'm not listening to my thoughts and going, "Oh, this is terrible." Oh, yeah. I'm just noticing the thought and coming back to the music. Hello, David. How are you doing? So let's go. Okay, I'm going to not put anything on that one. It's harder for me to give a reason why I'm not, but it's not that I think it's absolutely terrible. There are certain things that I could do. There are things that I could do. I could definitely hear. I mean, it was like, so if I just report back on my experience of listening to that, the piano wasn't doing anything for me. It didn't really kind of add to anything. There was a chord that I liked in the pad. I thought, oh, that's good. Because now I've not listened. Now that I've stopped listening, yeah, and now that I'm not splurging, I can judge. Yeah, I can criticize. Yeah, bear that in mind. So now we're being the editor. Once we've stopped listening and I'm reporting back. So there was a nice chord that I was not expecting, which I liked, and I liked it when the full beat came in. Yeah. But to be honest with you, neither of those things kind of make it happen for me enough. Yeah, I know that I've got a bunch of other stuff that I'd rather work on in my sketchbook, and I'm sure coming down here. Okay, so I've got a question from Eric. David's saying he's good considering it's 5 a.m. Oh, you're lightweight. I was up at 3:15 this morning. I have every 2 weeks I have mastermind groups on Thursdays and Fridays. My Thursdays and Fridays, and they start at 4 a.m. So yeah, I'm a bit crazy like that. I don't recommend it. So Eric, Mike, I like to jam to my splurges on my way to work on my car stereo. Would you recommend against that? Should I be sitting down where I could write down notes? So, I'm not going to be writing notes on these at this stage. All I'm doing is marking the ones which I might like to work on in the future. That's all I'm doing. I'm not making notes about it. I'm not coming to any judgments. I'm just listening and marking them. Now, if you're driving in a car and you don't want to be a danger to yourself and others, you won't be able to mark them. Yeah. So for that reason, I would say please don't do it in the car. Yeah. And you don't want to be listening to them multiple times to make this choice. You really, really want to listen and make a choice. Okay. This is part of the training. This is part of my approach. You'll notice that many of the things that I've been getting you to do in the Splurge Challenge, and many of the things I get you to do in general, are about you just making decisions. Template, make a decision. Yeah, quick. Splurging itself, make loads of decisions fast. Deciding what you want to mark to work on in the future, make a decision fast. Yeah. So when you're actually processing what I call, processing your splurges, which is what we're doing now, you want to be in a situation where you can just at least mark what the splurges are. And I can guarantee you that if you're driving, you won't be able to do that. Okay. But not because, that's just for safety reasons, not for the splurge situation. So, yes, David, of course I do. I wouldn't call it a cat nap though in the afternoon. I call it a power nap. So anyway, so let's listen to the next one. Wow. Now that is a keeper. I don't know where that came from. Cool. Right, so that is one of those which is at least, if we look at the automatic music machine over here, at very least, it's straight into draft. Okay? It could, theoretically, probably not though, be almost a straight into done one, according to the rules of done. But I'm not going to put it there. I'm going to be a little bit like conservative and say that's a draft. So that's why I'm giving it 3 stars and a heart. Okay, so so what it was about this one is that, well, straight away the first thing that came in, the tingly dinky dinky dinky, yeah, the bing boom 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 boom. I was like, oh, that's nice. It reminds me of something like maybe that I mean, I don't want to compare myself to such a wonderful musician and fantastic artist, by the way. But it kind of made me think, oh, that's a little bit like Fortet, who's like, I'm a massive fan of Fortet. And I was like, oh, that reminds me of that. And then that beat from the DFAM underneath it, I was like, okay, this is quite fat. And then just that kind of playing over the top really reminded me of, I don't know if you know he's a saxophone player, I think. Is he? Or is he a piano player? No, he's a piano player called, such a long time ago I was into him, called Keith Jarrett, who's like a jazz piano player. But he's got this very specific way of doing things. Does a lot of things with some Indian classical musicians. And I was like, oh man, this is great. And then it's just that combination of sounds was really doing it for me. And when you saw me, I don't know whether you were watching, but you would see me smiling at certain points. That's because I was, and again, I probably wasn't direct listening at this point because I was getting really into it. But I was thinking, the thought that was going into my head was, I hope I do this right now. And I did it every time. Like, I hope I play this note right now. And then at the end, like, it's happened over and over again. And then at the end, I was like, oh, I hope I do a chord thing where it goes dee dee. And I did it at precisely at the moment, right? So what that is telling me was that for some reason at that point, I was connected to something that was kind of like, and I'm not saying that this is the best piece of music ever written or anything like that. I'm just saying that I know that was kind of a thing that happened. Yeah. Now it's not perfect. There's lots of mistakes. It's not mixed well. Yeah. But in terms of an actual idea, that's straight into draft. Okay. So that's exciting. So coming back to, Eric says, just to ease your mind. So everybody, I only listen to 5 at a time at the most, so I can usually remember which ones I liked. Okay, fantastic. So Eric doesn't mark splurges while driving. So, so like just to say, by the way, just in terms of the result, like the results as in not the kind of process results, but the actual results of the ideas. If, let's just pretend that the rest of these I decide not to take forward, the fact that I got this one, for me would make it more than worth it. Yeah, because I'm like, I reckon I can get that done pretty darn quickly. Just keep it super simple, and I mean it's just got a thing about it. Yeah, it just needs a little bit of tightening up, a little bit of playing around, and it's done. So I'm well chuffed, as they say in the UK, which means I'm very happy. Hi Bart. So I'm going to keep going for a while. Let me know if you have any questions about the direct listening, or about stuff around the listening, or even about the Splurge challenge, because I want to make sure this is as valuable to you as possible, and I don't want to bore your socks off. Okay. David, great question. Are you looking for an emotional connection like the hairs on the back of your neck? No. So I got one there with that, but that's not required. Yeah. That's not required. This is really bugging me because I'm sitting down with this lead and I keep on leaning back on it and it's pulling back on my the back of my neck. I'm going to have to sort that out next time I sit down. I've never done do you know what? I have never done a live stream sitting down. So all of you people watching me right now are very lucky because this is a first. But anyway, am I looking for no emotional connection? No, I'm not looking for an emotional connection. Obviously, if I get one, hooray. But I didn't have an emotional connection with this. What I had with this one was I thought, I was like, oh, I'd really like to have a go at doing that with this. It was a good idea about an idea that wasn't very good. So not necessarily. Essentially, the question you want to answer is, might I want to work on this in the future? And that's about it. Now, obviously, if there is an emotional connection, then you'd be a pretty unusual person if you didn't want to work on it in the future. Right? So, yeah. Okay. Mistakes are your best coach. And I will tell you what the other thing about this that is really great is the other thing about the splurge and not listening for a while that's really great is I don't remember these. I just don't. I mean, I kind of remember these because I did them on a live stream, so there's a kind of a bigger, what's the word? There's more connections being laid down in my mind because it's kind of a high stress environment, if you like, with people watching and everything. So I do remember them better than if I was splurging on my own, but I just don't remember anything about them. So it's kind of like it's like listening to somebody else's music. So like you have the opportunity with this kind of practice to actually experience your ideas as if somebody else wrote them, which is like, that's gold right there. Okay, so talk about objectivity. You don't get much more objective than this if you don't remember making it. Sasha is asking a question. When you decide to go with a splurge, do you always stick to the initial BPM? No, not always. There aren't any rules about that. I will often change tempos according to various different things. So no. Basically anything at all from a splurge is up for discussion. Yeah, I'm not precious about anything in a splurge. Yeah, so it may well be that this just ends up being a starting point. Yeah, this one I might not end up doing. I might not use the same sounds. I might not use the same chords. I might not use the same notes. I might not use. Yeah, there's almost anything I might not use. What the reason I marked this one was because there was a shift between one section and another, which I really liked. It was like there was like a pad notes that were like, ooh, and then the piano kind of landed and it kicked off, and I like that. There was something about that I was like, ooh, I like what just happened there. Yeah, that's something I would like to explore. It's not exactly that I liked it. It was something that I would like to explore in the future. So let's have a listen to this one. Okay. So getting into my tweak. Get my tweak on. All right. That's a thing. Yep, that's a heart. So that one, there's all sorts of, like, it was all over the place. So basically there was lots of things that was all over the place in terms of the arrangement. Obviously it wasn't really arrangement. Obviously I just kind of visually arranged stuff and slapped things in. But there was a couple of real moments there where the piano kind of does some, almost reminds me a little bit of U2, like changes. I don't know about you, whether you kind of noticed that. And obviously there were mistakes in the piano. It's like the rhythm was out and everything. And that the DFAM rhythm was absolutely ear splitting at times. So obviously the volumes was all over the place. But basically with that one, that's all about moments. Yeah, there are these moments where it just kind of, it's like this, and then it just kind of opens up like this, which is kind of, I couldn't have thought of that. Yeah, there's no way that I would have, when it goes whoa, like that, it happened because I was splurging. Now I can take that right and use it as a starting point of a kind of a piece of music. Yeah, so I think, I hope this is demonstrating how just letting go of quality and just letting things happen and happy accidents and randomness and just it creates these opportunities that you couldn't think of. Like you could not think. I mean, maybe I could have, but I just wouldn't be able to think of that. I wouldn't be able to anyway. Maybe Mozart would or something, but not me. So I'm going to keep going. I'm actually enjoying this more than I thought I would. So I thought it might be quite painful. Anyway, just do it. Here goes. Hang on a minute. Oh, bye, Eric. Eric's gone. Oh, and Audio Diggers remembers this one. Yeah. Fantastic. So, that one was obviously popular as well. So, with some people. By the way, actually, something I need to say at this point. Oops. I am doing this in public, right? And I'm playing it to you guys in order to teach you, playing these tracks these splurges in order to teach you something. Please don't be playing your splurges to other people. Particularly if you haven't really practiced splurging and you haven't really, if you've been doing stuff with me for a long time and and you kind of really get it, okay, that might be okay, but I have been talking about the perceptual difference between, for instance, listening to the DAW file and the listening to the DAW file. Not DAW file. Listening to it coming out of the DAW and the audio file, the stereo audio file. Well, another like that is a thing. It's absolutely a thing. Well, another thing you will notice is the first time you play something to somebody else, it will sound different too. Okay, and I think it's really important that you just keep your splurges to yourself. I mean, obviously, what's the word? Exception to this would be if you're playing splurges to someone because you want to collaborate with them, and that you want to say which one of these do you want to work on. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, but if you're a solo producer and you're going to work on this music, just do unless it's like in a coaching situation. So quite often in my mastermind groups, we will listen to some splurges in order to do some kind of training and stuff. So unless it's that situation, that's fine. But if you're just producing on your own, don't play your music to people too soon. Yeah, because you kind of can really mess yourself up psychologically, mentally, and stuff like that. So, for instance, I know for a fact that, and please don't worry about saying, you can say whatever you want in the comments. It doesn't matter to me at all. But I know for a fact that positive feedback about this is going to kind of change my opinion about it. Yeah, I'm going to hear it less clearly, if you like. By all means, keep the positive feedback coming, but just what I'm trying to say is, please, for you, don't be playing your splurges to other people if you can at all avoid it, unless you're working with someone or unless you're in a kind of coaching or training situation. Okay, next, let's do it. Okay, so that one is on the cusp for me. I'm just thinking. Yeah, I'm gonna give it one. Okay. So, see, the thing is, so can you hear how important so like in the Idea Explosion Challenge program, what I've kind of done in terms of like you choosing your instruments, is that I've sort of led you step by step through a path of you starting to define your tools. Yeah, because I think most people just come in to like, and they've got 5,000 things, and then they just start there like, now what? Yeah, and I've kind of led you into a process of defining your tools, like what band you're going to use, what you're going to sound like, and you can hear all of these splurges. Obviously, I've already done this, so I'm using that. Yeah, I'm using a piano. Yeah, I'm using pad sounds at the top. Right, and so far that's all. I mean, I suppose in this one which was the draft, there's also a belly type sound, isn't there? The quartet thing. Yeah, but that is like creating a situation where, I mean, it sounds like me. You know what I sound like now because they all have their sound. I've made some decisions up front. Now, the downside to that I mean, there isn't really a downside, but if there is a downside, the downside to that is that it's somewhat harder for me to decide which ones I actually want to work on, because in the sense of the kind of what they are, the space that they're living, almost like, I don't know, what is it? It's not really a space. Yeah, kind of the space. The what they are, it's like I already like the sonic palette of it, yeah, which is meaning it's much more kind of focusing me on other things, which is a good thing. However, I'm in danger of marking. I mean, it's not really in danger, but it's like I want to be more selective. Okay, so yeah, universe they live in. Yeah, exactly, the sonic universe. That's right. Was that Just Do It? Yeah, it was. All right. So, well, I tell you what I really like is I really like the combination of me playing those kind of really chilled, sort of almost like live, just somebody playing with that. I just love that contrast. It just works for me very well. Very well. Right, not a waste. How about this? Okay. So with this one, I'm not going to mark it, but what I am going to do, if I can find it, where are they? Hello? Where are you? Oh, my goodness me. Hang on a minute. No, that's not right. What I have to do, this, I don't know what to do about that. No. Here we go. Info. Song info. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a thing there, and I'm going to write in comments, use DFAM recording starting point. Okay. So there was the whatever was happening with the DFAM, boom, 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 boom thing. I was like, oh, that would be good, but it's not like an idea as an idea. It wasn't. There wasn't really anything else. So that's almost like I'm going to take that audio file and put it in my kind of loops folder or something. Okay, so that's that one. I have a question. So just to make sure, you are giving yourself 4 instruments tops as limitation: synth, drums, piano, pad. No, not always. That's not that. I mean, that's not exactly what I've been doing. I'm just choosing. So I can add other things if I want, but there are certain things that I'm using. It's almost like they're the core of my setup. One is the piano. Yeah. One is this, the DFAM. And then kind of Vangelis Blade Runner style pad sounds. Yeah. And I've kind of chosen those. Something that I haven't used so far, which you haven't heard so far, is I also am choosing to use a 909 and an 808 if I want extra rhythm. And you will, like, when you hear the finished versions of these tracks, if any of them end up being used, you will hear other things as well. It's not that I'm just limiting myself to them, but it's almost like that's the core of where I'm starting with. I mean, I think piano is going to be very much in evidence in my music in general, because it's just, I like it, and I can play the piano. Not amazingly, but I can, and I'm practicing it all the time. So eventually I'd really like to get an actual real piano, but I ain't got one of them right now. And you know, in the current situation, I probably am not going to be able to afford one for quite a while either. So I'm just going to use what I've got. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the limitations, you know, the different splurges do have different limitations, but that's not necessarily, you know, it's not. I'm only going to use these. It's just the instruments that you choose create a certain palette, a sound, a universe. Yeah, and if you start there, then you can let the music tell you what else needs to be there. Yeah. So let's go to. Oh, I remember this name. Prefer blah 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 blah. Yeah. So. All right, I'm going to stop that now because I'm going to give it one. Right, so this one, it's not that I don't like this one. So it's not giving me shivers. I'm not thinking it's great, but what it is, the reason I've given this a bookmark is, for one thing, it reminds me a little bit of. It's got a bit of a. I don't know if you know the band Weather Report. I was a massive Weather Report fan when I was at school. Like a kind of, what were they called? Kind of like a fusion band, instrumental band, and they did some amazing stuff, and kind of quite out there, quite a lot of it, and they kind of incorporated all kinds of different elements in their music, and it kind of reminded me of that, and I was like, oh, kind of that is an interesting avenue. So that was one thing. And the other thing is the riff that goes round and round. Yeah, I haven't really developed that. I haven't really done much with it, but I like that as a starting point as well. So this is much more of a kind of vibe and starting point one. Yeah. So. Okay, I'm going to go for another 10 minutes or so on this stream. And then I'm going to stop because I don't want to subject you to any more of my rubbish. So, Gerald is saying, today was an eye-opener. As you may remember, I went back to the beginning, so today I'm on day 3 and 4. When I set up my strength template and started splurging, it was the worst ever. What was the worst ever? What was the worst ever? Like how are you processing the thought that it was the worst ever? What does that mean? What made it the worst ever? Answer me that question, and we will take it from there, Gerald. All right, Mike Monday. Oh yeah, I remember this one. This was a preset splurge, wasn't it? Okay, that's not going to move forward. There's something there about the groove between the D-fam and the 808, but it's just like that. It's just I'm not interested. So that one's not being used. So Gerald, what I was doing, I didn't like it while I was doing it. I realise now I should have carried on, but it was so bad, I stopped. I just didn't feel any inspiration in this instance, and it caught me out. Right, Gerald, inspiration is for amateurs, okay? You don't need inspiration. You don't need it. Yeah, you can move forward without inspiration. You need to learn how to move. You need to practice, not really learn. You need to practice moving forward without inspiration. Okay? You don't need inspiration. If you needed inspiration, then you wouldn't finish any music. Okay? It's not possible to be inspired all of the time, or even the majority of the time. Yeah. If for the majority of the time you're not going to be inspired. So what sense does it make with making that a requirement? Okay. Yes. One thing I learned the last couple of weeks is not to look for the right sound too long. A very valuable eye-opener for me. Yes. Or even, maybe not look for the right sound at all. Just go with what happens and then make another idea. How about that for an idea? Okay. Morris, do you rename your splurge files when putting them in Sketchbook to give you a reminder of what it was if it happens later that you return to it? So, Morris, let me ask you this question. So let's pretend, so in this folder here, right, this is my sketchbook. So here are all the splurges I've done over the last 18 months. Yeah. So let's just go through, and some of them I've obviously done more work on them, you can see with the different labels. Yeah. So let's just go through and see how many there are. Each of these cards is another splurge. Do you think that no matter what I named them, yeah, that I would remember what they are? I mean, some of them I remember because I've done other works on them. Other work on it, yeah. Do you think I mean, what if? I mean, at the moment, there's probably getting on for 1,000 in there, maybe. Do you think? What about when I have 5,000? What about when I have 10,000? What about when I have 20,000? Yeah, it just doesn't matter. All that matters is that I am working on music I want to work on, and that I am finishing music that is good enough, right? So I don't need to remember because there's an infinite supply of ever better ideas in your future, okay? If you allow yourself to believe that. You don't need to hold on to these ideas. You just don't need to, okay? So no, I don't. I just leave them as they are. This is all part of the training in non-attachment to your ideas. I know it kind of sounds like it's not detachment, it's non-attachment. So now it sounds like you might be being careless, but you're not. You're being carefree. Yeah, you're just. I know it's much more kind of case of going with the flow and being flexible and letting what happens happen. It's okay. Yeah. Do not push the river; it flows by itself. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go up until elegy. Yeah. So I'm going to listen to 2 more, and then I'm going to stop this live stream. I know I said I'd stop in 10 minutes, but I just want to. I do actually want to hear this one right now. Okay, so I'm going to listen to this one next. Yeah, but the sketchbook is the treasure vault. Yeah, but it's a treasure vault where you don't have to remember all the treasure. Yeah, because like even the stuff that you thought was rubbish, you may have thought it was rubbish because you were wrong, or you were in a bad mood, or you didn't understand it, or you weren't ready for it, or you know. So it's not the bin, it's the treasure vault, whether you remember the stuff or not. I mean, if you have 10,000 bits of gold in there, you're not going to remember them all, are you? And that's what's going to happen eventually. So, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one. So something to notice here, right? I think these three are preset splurge, preset splurges, and I think it would be a mistake because there's lots of different ways of thinking about what is a useful thing to do in the studio. Yeah. And if I was to judge the specific rule of go with the first preset you find simply based upon the results, like the percentage of good results to the percentage of bad results, yeah, then the preset splurge would be not a good thing to do. Yeah. That's just like almost universally the case. Yeah. Because you're using sounds that you're not familiar with, or you have practice you don't know, or that you don't dislike, so it's kind of more difficult to do. And also because you're using sounds that you don't like, when you hear it you're like, oh yeah, and it kind of, you just don't get as many results. You just don't, because it's almost like it's much more random. Okay. But that doesn't make it a bad thing to do. In fact, I think it's one of the best things that you can do, because it really is challenging and it's getting you to exercise this discovery muscle. Yeah. Which is about training and the creative process. Yeah. So I definitely do things which I do things in the creative process which I know aren't going to actually bring me great results in that moment. But I know that because of what I'm practicing, they're going to bring me much better results over time. Yeah. So I think that's just something to bear in mind. The other great thing about the preset splurge is it allows you to kind of unhook from that, like, I need to find the right sound, thing, which allows you to be much more kind of looser and quicker at other times. Yeah. You don't have to go full preset splurge, like you literally have to go with the first sound you find. You don't have to do that. You can be much more kind of you can find a sound in the area, but you can be much less, I need to find a better one. Yeah. Which is just honestly such a waste of time at this stage. Okay. So I've got a question from Rude. How many splurges do you listen to in one listening session, Mike? It kind of depends how many I've got to listen to. So when I do a 100 splurge challenge, and this isn't one of them, so I've only done like 19 at this time. But when I do 100 splurges, I mean, obviously I've got quite a lot to listen to. And one of the benefits of the 100 splurge challenge, yeah, which is like, it's like the Idea Explosion challenge on Turbo Boost. One of the benefits of that particular one is actually listening to the music in as short a period of time as possible. So sometimes I will spend a few hours in that situation listening to them, yeah, until I kind of lose my, ability to hear anymore. And then I'll have a break, and then I'll listen to some more later on. So there isn't really a rule for that. I don't have a rule for the number of splurges, but I do bear in mind that my, judgment can start to go a bit haywire if I listen too much or too loudly for too long. Okay. Great. So Joel's saying a really positive thing is that my studio feels different. Instead of being somewhere I go surf the net, download a couple of new plugins and maybe do a tutorial, I now go there to work on music. Absolutely. Like, I don't surf the net. I don't download plugins, although you might not believe that given the number of plugins I've got in my folders, but I don't anymore. Now I've found my things. Yeah. So I download a couple of plugins and never do tutorials. Just don't do them. Maybe I'm a fool, but I just don't. I'd rather just make my own tutorial by writing some music. That's the only tutorial I need. Right, let's listen to this. This is going to be the last one. So it would be nice to end on one which is like I'm feeling, but we'll see. Okay, I'm going to mark that one because it's not so much the notes, like the actual notes. They were all over the place. There wasn't really a melody, so to speak. What the reason I'm marking this one is because it's the contrast between the Alberti bass piano going really slow. Yeah, I'm not going to play it again. The Alberti bass playing going really slow, and that kind of melody sound, pink, the plinky melody sound, and then the DFAM in the middle was like this really unusual, but kind of quite compelling sort of three things happening at the same time. Yeah, and the actual notes that we're playing, and the kind of the harmonic stuff, the melodic stuff was just whatever. But just so there, I've got three things. So I've got this DFAM going, and I've got at the top the bling 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 bling, and then underneath it the very slow Alberti bass piano. Just really kind of, I was like, wow, that's actually a really good idea as a thing, right? So what I'll probably do with that one, if I choose to take it forward, is just start again with the notes or something. I'll probably keep the DFAM as it was, just keep that recording, and then actually kind of figure out in discovery a kind of meaningful melody and a meaningful chord progression, right? So you can see that I'm being very flexible with what I'm taking forward. It's like, this idea, I'm not going to use any of the same notes or anything, but I'm just using what the three different instruments are doing. Yeah. In other ones, like this one, I'm going, actually, that's like as is. That's kind of getting on for, it's kind of gone all the way to a draft. This one I didn't mark, but that's just a sample of the DFAM thing is good. Yeah. And I can't really remember about the others. So I think one thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people do, and I think it's a really big mistake, is to, like, at every single point in the process, people seem to think, well, it's almost like they view it as a finished thing, or that you can't change. These things are set in stone. And yes, you do always want to be moving forward, but at the same time, you are free to just remove that or change that or not do it this way. Or there's no problem with things not working, with things being rubbish. Yeah, because when you sort of view whatever you've done as a starting point or as a match that sparks another idea, then there really isn't any problem at any point. There's no suffering to go. There's no pain. I mean, there is pain. The creative process is a struggle. That's part of it. Yeah, it is the struggle. But you don't need to kind of take it upon yourself to kind of go, oh, God, I'm terrible. Yeah, it's just, you don't need to do that. It's like, okay, is this already something that I want to represent, I want to be in my music? Then yes, okay, great. Well, how do I improve it? Think of what you're going to improve. If it's a no, does this give me any ideas that I'm interested to explore? Even if it's rubbish, even if what it is rubbish. If that's a no, well, don't worry about it. You've got loads of other ideas. If it's a yes, actually, this does give me some ideas that I want to explore. I can't remember which one it was now, but anyway, one of those. There was a few of those where it was just ideas. I think this was one of them. Then great. That's good too. So there's no. Yeah, I think actually developing this non-attachment to your ideas and remembering that there's just unlimited. There is an abundant, infinite number of ideas that you can have, that you will have if you let yourself, by just kind of lowering the bar and just letting it happen. I think this has been I've done, in terms of the number of ones I've marked, it's unusually high. But again, I think that's partly a function of the fact that was using a setup and instruments that over time, through splurging and through like working on multiple pieces of music, I have kind of identified, right? Which you probably haven't if you just started splurging now. Yeah. So, but this is quite a high number usually for me, which is a good. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it's a good. It's a pretty good sign. So yeah, that is the final live stream of this class, if you like, of the Idea Explosion Challenge. My next live stream, oh man, why didn't I actually write it down? Actually, let me have a look at my phone. My next live stream. Oh yeah, and the other thing I realised, I just said that these three, I think these three with the preset splurge, I was wrong about that. That was the preset splurge, but this one wasn't, because that's when I started doing the Alberti bass, so I think I misspoke there. But it's interesting, I don't think the preset splurge actually was any worse than any of the others. So that's interesting, isn't it? All right, anyway, let's go back to the calendar and see when my next live stream is. Okay, so it's the. Okay, my Tuesday, or if you're in the Europe, UK, or North America or South America, then it is your Monday at the other time, not this time. Yeah. And then I've got a free subscribers coaching call the following day, so I won't be doing one that day. So if you're on my email list, watch out for that. The details of that will be coming on soon. And then the next one after that is on my Thursday at this time. Well, not this time, but my 2 p.m. So an hour and 20 minutes before now. And on these live streams, I'm not going to be splurging. I'm actually going to be. So on the first one, I'll probably be taking one of these tracks from the Idea Explosion Challenge and doing the next stage on it. Okay. So that will be the next live stream, and then the one after that, I can't remember what the order is. The one after that, I think I'm doing something about. Basically, I'm just going to be doing stuff later on in the process. So make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified about them, because actually on YouTube, because I'm going to be doing these live streams from next week on all channels, the actual live stream page of the actual live stream isn't going to be where the live stream is. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. So you're going to have to go to my channel at the time of the live stream to find the actual live stream. Okay. So thank you for being with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm fully in the live stream mode now. I've got lots of exciting ideas for more live streaming in the future. The other thing that's happening at the moment is, or about to be happening, is that we've got the next class of the Leap opening up next week. We're starting the week 0 content on April the 27th, which means it will shut on April the 25th. So if you're interested in that, you can send me an email to mike@makemusicyourlife.com. And in that, we go fully into the automatic music machine. Oops. Yeah. How it actually, I've given you a video in the Idea Explosion Challenge program. I've given you a video, a kind of a basic overview, but it's kind of much more. There's much more to it than that, obviously. So we do that 6 weeks. I actually help you for the first 6 weeks finish a project of your choosing, whether that's one track or multiple tracks. Some people have finished albums. Some people have finished one track. It's just kind of up to you and where you're at. And then in the final 2 weeks, I show you the magnet model, which is kind of the way of building a business around all the music that you've been creating. And, that might sound a bit crazy in the current crisis, but, as I've said multiple times, there is going to be a music industry after. That's one thing we can be sure of. And there are actually things which are good. Well, not good exactly. It's not the right thing to say. It's bad. Right? It's a tragedy. It's a catastrophe. It's a cataclysm. It's going to be a really big challenge for everybody. Right? So, and I'm not like cheering the fact that we've had this massive crisis any way, shape, or form. But when we get through the crisis, I mean, what I want people to be able to say. I mean, I've been saying this to myself. So I had quite a bad day. I had a good day in the morning, but then I had a bit of a wobble around lunchtime before I did this live stream, because I kind of started feeling quite anxious. I've just got this anxious feeling about the future, and like, yeah, and that, like, just one of the things that I've kind of constantly say to myself is, how am I going to make it so that, for me at least, or in my family, we can look back on these days, on going through these challenges, and look back on it and go, yes, it was hard. Yes, it was a tragedy. Yes, it was a catastrophe, and I'm really sorry it happened. But it was, in many ways, one of the best things that could have happened to me, to us. Yeah? How am I going to transform this terrible time into something that I can look back and go, wow, that was hard, but fantastic. And that's kind of what I think of as the kind of magnet model part of this, which is the kind of business building stuff. There are going to be new opportunities in the new music industry, and it is going to be a new music industry. It's not going to be the same. It just isn't. It can't be. It's over. the music industry as it was. That doesn't mean that live events are over forever at all, but it just means things are going to be very different. So if there was ever a time to give it a go, it would be now, I think, anyway. But then I would say that, so you can take that with a pinch of salt if you want. So, and I mean, the other thing that I'm going to do actually in this version of the Leap is I'm going to do an extra bonus module on live streaming itself, because, it's great that the live streaming revolution has happened. I've been talking about it for years, ever since Facebook launched their live streaming product back in 2016. That feature. But, I always knew it was going to be big for musicians. It's one of the things I've been talking about. And now it's just like, it's just had to, right? But one of the things I've noticed is that musicians are looking at live streaming as being like a bad gig, right? Or maybe a good video, yeah? But it's something different, yeah? And those that understand what is different about it are the ones who are really going to do very well with kind of the live streaming side of things. So I'm going to do a module about that, about how I'm doing it, how I'm thinking about it, and everything. So that's going to be an extra bonus. So that's the Leap program coming, as I said. If you want any more information about it, go and look at, well, actually, you can send me an email, mike@makemusicyourlife.com. And that's it for now. I will see you all on the next live stream, which is next week. So until then, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I just wanted to say, actually, on the note of me feeling anxious and kind of having a bit of a wobble, doing this, talking to you guys, has got me out of it. So thank you. I'm immensely grateful for your help there, whether intended or not. And when you're feeling wobbly, which I'm sure you will do on multiple occasions over the coming weeks, coming years, maybe even coming months, one of the things that I've found more useful than anything else is to reach out and ask somebody else if they're okay. Yeah, help somebody else. Yeah, because our tendency, including me, when I'm feeling anxious, is to turn inward. Yeah, and that's precisely the wrong move. What we want to do is we want to reach out, make sure someone else is okay, and be a part of the solution. Okay, so there's just a little extra tip there. I found it immensely valuable to do what I do at times like these because it really, really helps. So, with that said, it's been an absolute pleasure. Until next week, onwards and upwards.